Welcome back to our weekly videos. Today we're going to talk about 5 questions to ask yourself if you're about to sell your house, or let's even say your investment property. So I have here with me Anna, and I'm Sade, and we're with Best Results Realty Group in Austin, and we work in the surrounding areas as well. So Anna would talk from her experience as an agent, and I'll talk from my experience from the legal side of things. Welcome,
Great.
Anna.
All right. Thank you, Sade. Good to see you again.
Good to
All
see
right.
you.
So we're going to talk about selling. And I remember we've all been through at least one time experience of selling, and you learn a lot from that time. So when we were getting ready to sell, the reason why we were moving was because we were excited about doing a new build. And so we were leaving one neighborhood and getting ready to move to another. The other reason why we were deciding to move is because they built an elementary school right adjacent to our lot.
Oh,
So that was not something that we were prepared for. They added that later after the builders had said, "Oh, this is going to stay an empty field."
oh, okay.
Yeah. So that really changed things for us, and we decided to sell. So when we were getting ready to sell, we wanted to make sure that the time was right, and we were taking hints. At the time, we were not real estate agents. We were standard regular people just trying to, figure out how we can take care of our investment the best way possible. And we just watched the neighbor across the street sell their home within a weekend, and they did a really, really great job. And we thought, you know what? If that worked for them, it should work for us. And we didn't know anything about the market. We didn't know anything about preparing. All we knew is that we had to pack up a couple of things. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, one thing that I would definitely recommend is, what is your motivation to move? And number two, if you are taking hints from neighbors as far as like what you're seeing in your neighborhood, how reliable is that? And the reason why I said that is because it did not work for us at all. We did not sell our house in a weekend, just like our neighbor. And that really was scary because we had already signed a contract for a builder and we had limited time to sell. And so this was a time crunch.
I see.
And we altogether we signed up to do we signed up to do open houses, and we had no idea how many we were going to have, or how many showings we were going to have. We had 2 pets we had to pack up and take with us. We had to declutter our house with
Okay.
anything personal. We also had to make sure that, of course, it was clean and organized if people were going to tour.
Right.
And we didn't have any uh, laundry out or whatever. So what we had to do was to make sure that we were ready to leave at a moment's notice with our pets and wait for the results. So we did 30 of those.
So your time estimate was way off when you were
Yes,
comparing your house to the other house.
exactly. Weeks were going by, months were
Wow.
going by. It was really stressful. And we had a realtor we were working with, and we were not happy because we just didn't feel like they were doing a good job with our pricing, with anything, with showings. Yeah, it was really, really stressful for us.
Stressful experience.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
And if basically if we had a realtor that was more communicative to us, we would have appreciated that, because it seemed like she forgot about us. She just took the assignment on, and then we never heard from her.
Wow.
And all the only times we heard from her was, all right, let's, I think it's time we reduce. And that was just something that we weren't happy with. Ultimately, and we didn't see this coming, but ultimately we said, you know what? my husband said, we can do a better job. I would rather be a realtor myself.
And
So
here we are,
here we are.
years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But
that's that's an interesting story that's not so uncommon,
yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your experiences? What recommendations do you have?
So as you were speaking, you said you have to know your motivation. So I agree with that. Why am I selling now? Why now? And why am I selling overall? So I like the technique that I learned in some coaching course where it says you have to go 7 questions deep. So the first why will be, well, I would like to move. But behind that statement of I would like to move, what does that mean? I would like to move to a better location. I would like to move out of the city to a little bit outside the city. And then I ask myself, why am I moving? But why outside the city? Outside the city limits. And then I could answer myself again and say, because I need more of a serene environment or less hustle and bustle. As you said, you moved away from the elementary school.
Right. I mean, you literally could hear the bell ring.
Oh, okay. So that's
That's
very
close to you.
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that one's a huge question, your why. And then behind that sometimes is, oh, I need to downsize. You have to sort of think that through. But what came up again for me as you were speaking is then I have to also think, do I know how the market is right now? And that's something that you can do your research on your own or get help from a professional agent that's been doing it. That's actually good. So that's another thing, right? So you can't really compare apples to apples if you're not working with the same exact agent and the same exact house as your neighbors. It's impossible. So knowing the market, I think I'll ask myself, do I even know whether the timing is right? Whether the market is ready for this sale. And sometimes I don't have a choice because I just have to sell. Maybe I'm behind on my mortgage payments and I feel like I need to move to a smaller house. So that's another question that I thought would be important, is knowing the market after knowing my why.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is important is if you're in a new relationship with somebody and you have no idea their credit history, or you have no idea if they have any liens or anything, something to be aware of is if you have a lien on the property, or if the
Yeah.
property's in someone else's name. This actually happened where the boyfriend was living in that house,
Okay.
and he thought it was willed to him by his parent, but it turned out it was not willed just to him. It was willed to him and another sibling.
I remember that, right? They consulted
Yes.
with me. Mhm.
Yes,
So yeah, it's tough, right? You have to know. So you're saying if I'm trying to sell, I have to know the true legal status of my ownership.
correct.
Yeah. Am I 100% owner or not? And if so, I think the underlying thing you were saying behind that is there might be liens attached based on my actions or my siblings' actions if we co-owned it. So there
Correct.
might be an IRS lien attached.
Correct.
So
Yes.
then that would reduce the total amount once we sell it,
Yeah.
depending on whether the lien can be allocated just to him or if it has to be taken off the top. And that's something you have to maybe get legal help to fight.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, so knowing the liens that are attached to the property, sometimes there are water treatment liens that people have, and sometimes you have a solar note for your solar panels. So you have to consider all of that. Well, how much is it that I still owe them, so that you know your net that you're going to make from this sale. I think that's
Definitely.
yeah. The other thing that came to mind is that I have to ask myself also, what are the tax consequences when I sell? Because sometimes there are, and sometimes they can be deferred, and sometimes there aren't any tax consequences. And I don't know enough. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax preparer. I'm not a CPA. So I say you should talk to your tax preparer to ask them specifically in your case, not Googling it. We all Google all the time, but
Yes.
Google is not always specific to me.
To every case and every
Right.
person, for sure.
So know your tax consequences. Sometimes you will have capital gains that can be deferred, or you could have no capital gains because you have adjusted basis your cost for the house when you turn in all your receipts, the improvements, and when they depreciate over time. So you have to talk to your tax person that you trust, not just the ones online. And then as a, I guess to piggyback on that one is the fact that you could use a 1031 exchange if you need to buy another property. You could totally do a real estate swap with those capital gains so that there's no tax right now. So that's something, again, that they will inform you. Sometimes the tax attorneys can also help you with that.
Yes, they're very helpful. And also, I would say if you're getting ready to sell, you definitely need to know about the property. If there's any liens to it, you need to know what the reason is. You also need to know if you have a deadline, because that deadline is going to tell your realtor exactly what kind of time frame they have, and what methods they need to do to sell your property as sooner or or not. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. What is my time frame? And be prepared for the activities that need to happen, the actions that need to go into that. If you're giving the realtor, oh, I need to have it sold by 30 days, or I need to have this sold by 3 months, then there's going to be other actions that are going to happen to make that happen. So be prepared and have that in mind. There are some people that say, oh, I want to sell, I'm not in a rush, it can stay on the market for a year. So this is the time is a big question.
I like it. Yeah, you have to consider, yes, am I under a time crunch, and how much time ideally would I like for this to all close, right? In how much time? And in conjunction with that, you mentioned that you had to declutter first and all that. So
Definitely.
yes, decluttering, huge. And that also could take time. And also
Yes. And
getting junk removed from
this
the.
is a very tricky thing for a lot of people because they take a lot of pride into all of the things that are in their home, which is completely understandable. It's all you in that house. And, to have to open that up to other people's viewing, it's different than hosting a party. It's way different than hosting a party. You need to
Very true.
really, really make it a blank slate. And instead of having a lot of things available and around on surfaces, you need to take those things off of the counters. One little trick that somebody told me, because I was collecting shells every time I went to a beach, and I said, oh, I like these shells, and I think I'll lay them all out on a table surface or on the counter. And what they said is, yeah, that's great that you like to collect those shells, but we need them in a jar or some kind of container. I said, oh, I never thought of that. So now I have, now it's a new way of, storing them and also enjoying them. So now they're in a vase, you
Yes,
know. So,
I like that.
yes, I think that is really helpful, just to let go of a couple of things that are sprinkled all over throughout the house that maybe just, don't have to be there.
Right. So the question then to ask myself if I'm selling is, am I prepared to do the work that it takes, the emotional work that it takes to go through these things, and the physical work that it does take, and the time and effort to go through the things and dispose of, let go, and let them go to other people that could use them sometimes, or let them go to trash if they are indeed not useful to anyone. So,
Right.
that's it's interesting how attached we can be sometimes, and having a minimalistic life is really peaceful. It is
Well,
peaceful, but it's not always what we think we're doing. It's not always what we're really doing, because after you've lived there for years, you accumulate a lot of things.
oh, definitely, definitely. I'll give you a short example of something that I did. I had inherited, or somebody gave me a little keyboard, and I
Okay,
thought someday, one day, I'm going to learn how to play piano.
of
And
course.
that someday, one day, guess what?
Never
It
came.
never came. And I love the sound of piano, and I would love to learn, but the time just didn't allow me.
Sure.
And you know what I did with this keyboard? I
What?
did not drop it at the Goodwill. I went to a local public school, and I went to the music department,
Okay.
and I said, "Do you think that somebody could use this?" And
Alright.
the teacher says, "You know what? I know exactly a student that has loved playing keyboards, and they
Okay.
definitely need it because they just had a house fire, and he
Oh,
lost his favorite keyboard." And I said, "Oh, that would be fantastic." I didn't plan on it, and I didn't realize it was going to happen. But it turned out that I guess lunch had just finished and the student walked in, and I was able to watch the student get his keyboard, and
that's
that
so
was just
nice. Yeah. It's
wonderful.
nice. It's nice to let it go and to people that actually are going to use the things.
Oh,
And
definitely.
there,
Just think of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there are places other than charity places that are the ones that we all think about. There's specific ones that take shoes, and there's specific ones that take professional
Oh,
outfits for women
oh yeah,
and sometimes for men. So I think that's really good to think about
definitely.
these things. Is there anything else that comes to mind if somebody is looking to sell? What questions should I be asking myself if I'm looking to sell?
Take a look at your exterior property items
Okay.
and consider whether or not you're willing to part with those. Patio chairs, benches, major planters, anything that could be in your backyard decoratively in your front yard. And keep in mind that anything on your window dressing, like
All right.
drapes, those are required to stay.
Yes.
So if you are going to do anything with decluttering, consider all of those things.
Okay. That's really helpful because you want the other people to be able to see themselves there, not necessarily see your own loving
Exactly.
loving stuff, but maybe not to them so loving.
Right.
Not loved items to them, I guess, but to you very much loved, so you could still move them into storage even until you
Mhm.
figure out what to do with them.
Oh,
um,
yes. The standard is it's all stuffed in the garage.
in the garage, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So as we're talking, I mean, the only other item that I could think of is to just know what steps will this entail? Like, what would this take of me to sell a house? What does it take of me personally? I
Mm.
know a lot of people work 9 to 5. Some people are freelancers, which makes it a little maybe easier for them to have flex time. But what does it take out of me? Does it take 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day for me to prepare to sell this house? And what documentation do I need to line up? Do I have garage door keys, or what do you call them, clickers? Do I have
Garage
the
door openers. Yeah.
openers? Do I have the mailbox keys? Do I have, keys if there are certain things that you lock? Is there a pool card that you need to turn, start
Right.
gathering all those things in one place, I think, because it's going to
Right.
make your life easier once they start asking for, hey, where is this? Where is that? Some people have certain things with remotes, like ceiling fans, fireplaces that are staying. So you should find those remote control things, right? And put them
Oh,
all.
yeah.
My suggestion is in a big Ziploc bag, and everything goes in there until your agent, if you have an agent, asks for those, or until you, if you're selling it by yourself, until you get to the point of closing, then you'll at least not be running around with all your moving items everywhere, trying to find one remote.
Yes, that is true.
So
That is really good idea.
that was the last thing that I thought about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think this was really helpful, and I hope this helps you guys if you're thinking and you're getting ready to sell. And of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to either one of us.
absolutely. So Anna has great experience because she came from a personal point of, this is frustrating and this shouldn't be so difficult and it should be smoother than this. So Anna and Mateus, her husband, they've been doing wonderful things for other people because they understand from a personal standpoint. It's not just an intellectual exercise for you. You actually understand how frustrating it can be with the wrong type of agent, or let's say an agent that's just distracted.
Yeah.
So Anna can do a wonderful job for you if you're looking to sell in the Austin area and surrounding areas, and her information will be under this video. And then of course, I'm new to the team, and you can certainly get your legal questions answered if it's relating to Texas property. So my information will be down there as well. And I wanted to recap that we just went over hopefully 5 things, which is to know your motivation, your why for selling, to know your timing, to be able to close, how much time do you really have, to know whether you're going to net any profit and whether there'll be tax consequences on those if you do net profits, and talk to your tax preparer, of course, and to also pick an agent that's good if you're going to need the help of an agent, which most people do, because it's just an overwhelming experience. And then last but not least, to make sure that you're ready for the work, the physical work that your agent cannot do for you. Just make sure you're ready for the work that your agent cannot do for you, and also to try to do the ones you can ahead of time, like decluttering and helping other people to enjoy your items that you're no longer using. And remember to also know what is owed on that property, like liens or any debts. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you guys learn from this video and you join us next time. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Anna.